Attention, attention, attention. Now, this will change your life, what I'm about to say, as a buy and hold investor. A is for appreciation. B is for beautifying. C, that's for cash flow, baby. And D, that's for duck down. It's dangerous unless you have deep pockets. Normally when I do the deal closers tour in Pittsburgh, PA, not Pittsburgh, Georgia, but Pittsburgh, PA, I always show them this property. And shout out to Brandon Paxson, my frat brother, who coined this phrase, the Leaning Tower of Pittsburgh. Yes, you heard that correctly. This property is actually on a gangster lien. It is a standard wrecked, and that's a huge problem. However, the numbers on the property, I should say, actually look pretty sweet. But the property itself, the tenants and the neighborhood, not so sweet, right? So let's talk about the tenants. The tenants actually had a tenant in which they did not pay the water bill. Now they paid the rent. So from a property management perspective, this was a good tenant. However, being that the water bill is unpaid in the state of Pennsylvania as well as other states, that water company can place a lien on the property if the water bill continues to remain in arrears. And guess who will end up paying that water bill? The owner, me in this case. And then why is that I attract that type of tenant who didn't pay the water bill and was somewhat of a disturbance to other people around the neighborhood? Well, they lived in a property in which the property had a dirt floor. Starting out, I didn't do a property inspection, so that was a mistake on my part, right? That's one of the financial freedom principles. You want to evaluate every consequence up front. Everything from the roof to the basement gets inspected. So being that I didn't do an inspection, found out it was a dirt floor. And guess what dirt floors attract? Rodents. Big rats. You know how it is up north, right? These things burrow underneath the ground and they actually what's the word? Infestate? Infiltrate? Yeah, thank you guys. That's the videographers in the background. They infiltrate the whole property to the point it's a huge infestation. That's a lot of money right there, right? And so outside the tenants, outside the property, it also attracted undesirable neighbors to the point they were doing carjackings, burglarizing the neighbor's property, as well as breaking in when I had a vacancy just so they can smoke marijuana. It was a big problem. So this property was in the D area. Now, D areas could potentially be great for the numbers, right? The metrics, because the cap rate was 12%. My cash on cash return was way above 12%, which is 2 thumbs up. However, investing in D properties does come with a price in regard to the increased difficulty of management. Now, with D areas and with D properties, the properties can be a tad bit older, so that can require more maintenance. Your maintenance expense will be higher through the roof, no pun intended. Plus, it can also come with crime, being that it's in the D area. And the appreciation appreciates very minimally in contrast to other areas. But the pros of D areas, low purchase price, high cap rates. But again, buyer beware. Now, D areas, investing in a D property could be a sound investment strategy if and only if you intend to buy up the whole block, so to speak, and change the whole landscape of the area. This is called gentrification, all right? However, if you just plan on buying one property to give that one property in the D area a facelift, that's what we call, ladies and gentlemen, a Miss Piggy. That's putting lipstick on a pig. You don't want to put lipstick on a pig. Or you're making this one particular property super pretty with granite, with stainless steel appliances, window to floor, windows in the ceilings, floor to ceilings, blah, blah, blah. You don't want to do that. That would definitely make you lose a return on your investment, because you also got to take into account the values of the other properties in the neighborhood as well as the neighbors in the neighborhood. So take it from me, my friend, right? If you want to invest in D areas and be a part of the gentrification movement, by all means, make sure you have enough deep pockets, you as well as your team, to buy up the whole neighborhood. opposite end of the spectrum, you have the A areas. Now, as I stated earlier, A is for appreciation. Now, that appreciation comes with a price, lower returns. So if you're like me, you want to quit your day job within 4 years, investing in A areas might not be the best market for you to invest in. However, that's for the buy and hold strategy. But if you want to entertain flipping, once you buy a property low, sell it high, A areas can definitely be a great market for you. The cap rates for A areas are as follows. It's typically between 4 and 6%. As I mentioned, lower returns. You get less bang for your buck, in other words. But what's the pros of investing in A areas? Well, you could buy at a certain price and appreciation goes up so much faster than other market classes. And how do you know if you're in an A area or not? Well, just look around. You'll see the Whole Foods, the organic dry dog cleaning, whatever that place is called. Or you'll see fat-free water or stuff like this, whatever kind of drink this is, or these fancy little acai bowls or whatever it's called. That's the signs of an A area, right? You want to live there, don't get me wrong. You might get higher rent, but in regard to investing, not yet, young grasshopper, right? You might want to wait and invest your dollars in other markets or in other areas, right? Now, in regard to the B areas, that could definitely be a possible market. B is for beautifying, right? It's just on an upswing. It could appreciate into an A area. These markets are great for buy and hold or for flipping. And I've actually done both investment strategies in a B market. Now, the cap rates for B markets are typically between 6 and 8%. Now, just keep in mind, the cap rates per market can vary, but I just want to give you some insight on what I look at when I invest in my market. Now, I'll save the best for last. My preference is C areas, C properties, and C stands for cash flow. And that's for the buy and hold strategy. Why is it so sweet? Simply because unlike D areas, C areas typically have a cap rate which is pretty decent, 10 to 12%, so you get a nice return. And they're in safer areas. And that's pretty much my investment strategy, especially as a buy and hold investor who invests out of state, an absentee owner. I want to make sure that being that I'm investing out of state, that I invest in properties in the areas in which they're safe, they're affordable with decent returns, like I mentioned, 10 to 12%, and the cap rate can be 10 to 12%. And then, of course, each cap rate varies by market, but I'm just giving you some insight. And another thing as to why I like these areas and these properties, the C areas, simply because blue-collar workers are fine with paying you your rent. They don't want to own a home. They're fine with paying rent. They're fine with let's say a single-family house being $40,000. They're paying $850 a month in rent, like one of my properties. They don't care. And if you have Section 8, great. They're employed. They're cool with just doing a rent increase because at the end of the day, that tenant who's on Section 8 is not paying for that increase. The government is, right? So I highly recommend that you explore the opportunity of investing in C properties and C areas to get that cash flow, baby.